Justice, always live from Australia, is a man who, well, I mean, extraordinarily lost his career, his income, many friends, and even his marriage over speaking out on this issue. I'm delighted to welcome Graham Linehan, comedy writer and journalist, creator, of course, of The Magnificent Father Ted. Graham, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Julia. Lovely to be here.
It is extraordinary that there have been so many people, including, Labour representatives and others, and even, the likes of Stonewall and others who've been pushing this agenda, who are now saying, oh, yes, we completely accept all of the findings in the Cass review. Absolutely. Look, this is the stuff that you've been saying. Many other campaigners like J.K. Rowling, Maya Forstater, Helen Joyce, and other brave souls, James Dreyfus and others, who've been saying. But when you said it, pointing out a lot of the same facts, you saw basically your career ended. No one would commission you. You lost your income. The pressure on you from losing friends and the hate campaigns on social media. Your marriage ended as well. You kind of lost everything, but by the way, your dignity on this. But now apparently you were completely right. Do you feel any sense of vindication?
Yeah, but I never doubted it. I mean, someone wrote today, over the next few years, a lot of people are going to have to come to terms with the fact that they consider themselves intelligent, well-informed people, and they believed one of the most stupid ideas that's ever been put forward, the idea that people can be born in the wrong body. And there's a group of people called trans people who have existed throughout history, and they've just suddenly made an appearance, coincidentally, after they started coming up with the phrases and arguments that they continually deploy on websites like Tumblr and Reddit in the middle of the 2010s, 2010 to 2020. So this is a completely faddish load of nonsense that came from academia in the US, some very perverted doctors in Europe. In fact, I'm over here on the other side of the world, and one of the worst offenders was a man named John Money, who invented the theory of gender ideology and sexually abused two male twins in his care.
Right, okay, I don't have any information on that, so legally speaking, I can't...
Oh, he's long dead.
He's long... Okay, thank God, because I'm just thinking the lawyers are going to be in here in about 3 seconds. Okay, but this is the thing.
All I'll say is people should Google John Money, and they will see where the concept of gender identity...
This is the thing. There's a lot of... You went further than a lot of people who were critical of this, saying that you think there's actually much more sort of sinister sort of direction behind where this, and I have to say, looking more and more into this, I am more and more coming around to your point of view on that. But certainly at the very bare minimum, the stuff that the Hillary Cass exposed shows that, the absolute disregard for the safety, the mental health and the physical health and the long-term impacts for children at the Tavistock Clinic and by many of those working this work is absolutely outrageous. And I would say blatantly, clearly breach of the Hippocratic Oath, and also probably criminal in many cases. Do we need to go further? Because the Hillary Cass report points out that actually many of the clinics refuse to actually comply at all. We have no long-term information on the children who were treated even at the Tavistock. They didn't seem to even care. Maybe they didn't want to find out because they knew what they were doing was so wrong. But now we actually are getting a full, expose of this. But this could have happened years ago. This could have not been allowed to happen at all. And it was people like you speaking out that have helped push this. Do you feel a sense of anger at the authorities that, including, by the way, this Tory government, that did so little about this for so long?
Well, my problem is that, I've been talking about this for 6 years, and my anger has come and gone. I found after about 2-3 years, no one was listening to me. I went on Newsnight, was interviewed by Sarah Smith, and was treated as if I had gone insane when I was saying exactly the same thing that people are saying now. So my anger is spent. Then again, I haven't yet had time over here to read the Cass report in full. And I can tell you that my gay friends who are reading it are so angry they can barely speak. This is a whole generation of gender non-conforming, often gay children who have been sterilized and maimed for life. I think that Stonewall, mermaids, Pink News and a few other institutions should be criminally investigated for conspiracy to commit GBH against children.
I have to say,
That's how serious this is.
I agree with you in terms of how serious it is, because it is extraordinary. Especially, there was some extraordinary conversations that reported that are going on at Tavistock by whistleblowers that, you know, they were laughing. There won't be any gay children left in the country because so many, particularly young gay women, young gay girls, were going to the clinic, and young boys, and basically being told. I mean, again, Stonewall and Mermaids doing this. You know, that, oh, if you're not, you know, if you're a tomboy, or if you're quite an effeminate boy, well, then you're probably trans. No, you may well be straight, you may well be gay, and there's nothing wrong with either of those things. Be you, live your life, and get on with it. But then suddenly, young children were, you know, vulnerable children. Often they'd been abused, they'd been neglected, they'd had trauma, they had other mental health problems. A huge number of them were autistic as well, and had other, you know, learning difficulties and things. And then they were put on this railroad track to, as you say, infertility and body mutilation. It is the biggest childcare scandal in our lifetime. And suddenly everyone's just turning on a sixpence and saying, oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah, that shouldn't have happened. When 2 days ago, they were cheering it on and calling people like you bigots.
Yeah, they can't face it. It's too big. You know, I mean, when I think one of the things that has happened over the last few years is, I think people said to themselves, if this is true, if this story is true, then everyone, the media, the BBC,
definitely the BBC.
My celebrity friends, everyone is lying to us. And I think that the magnitude of that lie basically blew people's minds, and they couldn't look at it. They couldn't accept it, because they knew that if they absorbed what was happening, they would come over to my side, lose their livelihoods, lose their friends, lose their marriage, and they would be, you know, in the same position I'm in, which a lot of people for many years look at as a kind of, oh, poor Graham, he kind of
he went a bit off the rails,
you know?
Yeah. Can I say, do you regret it? Like, I've been lucky enough to be able to speak out. I'm not like my force I lost a job, or, you know, I've been able in my job to speak out on this issue and not lose my livelihood, not lose my marriage and things like that. Do you regret speaking out? Do you think you made a difference that was worth it? That meant that loss of the you know, the accolades and the work and the income and, of course, your marriage. Do you think that was worth it?
I am astonished that there's anyone in the world who can put their career above the safety of children. You know, I would never do that. You know, and all I can say is, you know, thank God this has happened. Thank God for the Cass report. Hopefully now these children will be saved from an appalling future of medicalized harm. You know?
Absolutely. Graham, you're an absolute hero to so many of us on this side of the debate. Thank you for everything you've done. And my God, we want him back writing on our TV screens. Graham Linehan.